You are listening to the Novel Writing Podcast, episode 101. Grab a cup, cozy up, and let's get to writing. Today's episode is another installment of our series on social media, and this one will be the last for a while. Today we're talking about how to figure out what works for you. Of all the advice out there for how to quote-unquote do social media as an author, you won't know what works for you until you start trying things. We have talked a lot in this series about the different things you can try, ways you can work to your strengths and personality, like the interview with Erin Woodruff about introverts and extroverts, which platforms to use, being persistent versus being consistent, and also the myths about using social media for marketing. What's left now is for you to go and implement just one thing and treat it like an experiment. Do you remember the scientific method from school? That's all about testing a hypothesis, gathering data, measuring what you gather against what your hypothesis was, and then adjusting as needed to keep working toward the result you actually want. It's no different with social media, only you'll need to experiment a lot more as the algorithms change, as people's interests wax and wane, and as you yourself learn more about your readers, your audience, and what works for you over time. What works for you might be different than what's working for other authors on Instagram and TikTok and all of the other social media platforms. What works for you might look like you're quote-unquote doing it wrong when you're comparing to what others are doing. What works for you might be a unique combination of 10 different things that all work for other authors, but no one has tried mashing together yet. There's nothing wrong with trying out what works for others, especially for marketing experts who are in the weeds with the algorithms on a daily basis. But remember that there is no single way to be successful as an author on social media, and if anyone is trying to sell you a single method for success, please run far away. I have purchased courses on marketing on Instagram and TikTok, but there's nothing in those courses that claims to be the one way to be successful. My philosophy with every learning purchase is to take what works, leave the rest, and not lay any lack of success at the feet of these courses, because no matter which gurus you follow, you won't find your own recipe for success without taking action on the things you're learning. Remember, you don't have to use social media as an author. It should be an intentional choice that you make, not something you tried to do because someone else told you that you should, even if you would really hate being on it. But if you are choosing to venture into the world of marketing on social media as an author, then remember this. You are not alone, and what works for you may not be what works for others. So venture forth and start experimenting. That's it for today's episode. Thanks for joining me, and remember, the first draft is supposed to be garbage. Thanks for listening to the Novel Writing Podcast. If you're ready to stop struggling and start finishing your novel, check out the 60-Day Novel Writing Challenge. It's a step-by-step program designed for solo writers to complete their first draft with clarity and focus. Visit the link in the description to learn more.